Welcome back to Handover Countdown. We now conclude our examination of the civil service with a look to the future. Saying he wanted a smooth transition, Chief Executive Designate Tung kept all policy secretaries in their posts. But analysts wonder whether those who served are supported. So the policy of the colonial administration can now support a new master who may want a different direction.
Hong Kong is a gambling city, but in January 1997, political punters had their eyes on another horse race. For those involved, the purse was bigger than any day at Happy Valley. Hong Kong's future leader was interviewing all serving policy secretaries, raising questions about who would make the final cut. In the end, Tung kept them all in their posts.
It is important during the transition that we make minimum changes. From time to time, there will be changes, either because there's a need within the government or because of personal aspirations. And these are the things to be looked at in the future.
But analysts say the race is far from over.
The system's leadership core, which will be composed of political appointees and civil service, has yet to be consolidated. And in the process of consolidation, some people can simply not survive. That is as simple as that.
Observers feel the skills needed to survive in the post-colonial civil service evolved over the last 2 decades. Many see the 1984 signing of the Joint Declaration as a turning point for the civil service.
Now, previously, of course, the general rule was that civil servants said nothing in public. But the legislative reforms since '84, in a sense, have made them more accountable and therefore more willing to say what they believe. Now, there is a problem here about what does one do. Civil service servants, after all, are not elected. They are civil servants. They are answerable to their political masters. Therefore, it is argued, as far as possible, they should be neutral.
But in early 1997, the civil service hit a bumpy stretch of road.
I solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
The sudden departure of former Immigration Director Lawrence Leung in 1996 opened a can of worms for the civil service.
It also makes senior civil servants and the Hong Kong government to be more aware, to be more alert to the handling of disciplinary cases, because they have to be aware that they have to be ultimately accountable to the legislature and to the public.
Originally, the government said Leung resigned for personal reasons, but that was the beginning, not the end. Legislators began an inquiry which revealed the civil service had not been completely honest. Under pressure, the government admitted Leung was forced out because he failed to report his business connections, a violation of civil service rules.
The government's procedures, in some cases, are still sort of informal.
But some members of that LegCo Select Committee believe the inquiry taught the government a lesson, and the future administration will be less accepting of this type of scrutiny.
In the Chinese politics, that had to be resolved, behind the scene, not an on-stage confrontation.
Anson Chan is seen as more than the head of the civil service. Her presence is seen by many as being crucial to a smooth transition. But recently, Chan raised eyebrows and fears by hinting she may quit if her principles are compromised in the future.
Obviously, in this transitional period, there are various issues to be settled, like the trust between Mr. Sejong and his close aides on one hand and senior civil servants on the other, to what extent the various modes of operation of the civil service should be upheld. And a certain balance, of course, has to be struck between this and innovations.
Can these civil servants make the adjustment to support something which they failed to support in the past, but still retain public trust? Because if they cannot retain public trust, they might be political liability even to system.
But as Hong Kong enters the home stretch of colonial rule, analysts suggest more and more civil servants will be forced to jockey for positions close to their political master. Loyalty will play a bigger role, but the big question for many policy secretaries is whether they can remain loyal to both their mentor and their own convictions.
And continuing our handover coverage, British Prime Minister Tony Blair has urged Chinese President Jiang Zemin to forget the battles of the past and build a new relationship with Britain. The two leaders met in a Hung Hom hotel less than 4 hours before China resumed sovereignty over Hong Kong. Tony Blair and Jiang Zemin greeted each other warmly in front of the cameras just prior to the meeting. Jiang invited Blair to China for an official visit, and the two were at pains to stress this was a golden opportunity for closer ties. Chinese Premier Li Peng, the new chief executive of the SAR, Tung, the British Foreign Minister Robin Cook and his Chinese counterpart Qichen also attended the discussions. It was the first meeting between the heads of state of the two countries since 1992. The official Chinese news agency Xinhua said Jiang was very glad to meet the British Prime Minister at this historic moment. The New China news agency went on to say that Jiang described the meeting as one of great efficiency. Jiang Zemin also congratulated Tony Blair on his recent election victory.
At the official banquet, toasts to Hong Kong from British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook and Chinese Foreign Secretary Qichen. Now take a look.
Your Royal Highness, Your Excellency, Vice Premier Qichen, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I propose a toast to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen. The President. Hong Kong.
His Excellency Vice Premier Mr. Qichen will now respond on behalf of the People's Republic of China.
I now propose a toast to His Excellency President Jiang Zemin of the People's Republic of China.
To the President. To the Queen. To the Hong Kong.
That was the official toast at the banquet now going on at the convention center. And we carry on with our coverage. This event is being called a takeover, a changeover, and even a walkover. To many, though, it's likely to cause a hangover. Hundreds of thousands will be celebrating the change of sovereignty at official events and private parties. The government has spent more than $200 million on public celebrations. To some, though, the historic moment in Chinese history is having little impact. Mary Lois Chan looks at who's doing what and where.
As the colonial sun sets, one thing should be going with it: years of handover hype.
Each time you say you kiss me, then I know it's time for ding dong to start. Each time you say you hug me, ding dong, ding dong. Each time you say you love me, ding dong, ding dong. I hope I don't wait too long to hear my bell go ding dong.
The people are just riding off the back of it. I mean, from early last year onwards, you could buy a handover t-shirt or whatever. And this is the environment here. I mean, people cashing in on this isn't a bad thing. It's just the way Hong Kong works.
Each time you say you kiss me, then I know it's time for ding dong to start.
I don't really take 96 as somewhat special. It's just like all around the world. I mean, everyone's struggling for their own lives or making a living every day.
A shipyard in Guangzhou. The last 4 months, craftsmen here have put all else on hold to build 31 steel flotillas for a handover spectacular. part of a multi-million-dollar celebration plan from the Better Hong Kong Foundation. Pandas, fairies and mythical beasts will parade in Victoria Harbour as the Prince of Wales and the Governor sail away. The man whose job is to make sure the handover goes smoothly has been working on it for months.
I joined the Chief Secretary's office in April '96, starting to work on this project quietly on my own, together with colleagues in different government departments. And then after we reached agreements in the JLG on a handover ceremony, we decided to bring the various teams under one umbrella as the Handover Ceremony Coordination Office.
As Hong Kong wondered whether the ceremony's $8 billion venue would be built on time and properly, Stephen Lam juggled a core team of over 300 and a budget of $220 million.
My focus all this time is to design and create a handover ceremony with a set of related events which reflects Hong Kong's modernity, Hong Kong's international cosmopolitan character. For the last 13 years, we've been looking into a crystal ball, trying to identify what the future beholds. Now, within a few days, we make contacts with the future, and it's up to us to continue to make it work.
And if you're not invited to the main event, there are lots of other parties in town.
For me, the handover, you have to find your right party, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah, what I noticed is that a lot of Chinese people are a little bit afraid of what's coming. And a lot of expats are thinking, well, it doesn't concern us, right?
But anxiety never kept Hong Kong from the good times. Since the early 90s, Shanghai nostalgia has reminded Hong Kong of its imminent return to the motherland.
Thinking about the last days of Hong Kong, you can think about it in terms of the last days of Shanghai, because Hong Kong is not a place that has its own high cultural traditions. You have to look back maybe to popular culture. So the interest in old Shanghai, I think, is part of that nostalgia boom, which is a Hong Kong thing.
But it was always taken with a pinch of salt. At the Club Shanghai, retrospective comes with rhythm and blues and dim sum at midnight.
Nostalgia we often think of as a negative thing, but I think it can have a positive dimension in terms of trying to define a sense of your own cultural identity.
And after handover fever dies, what next for Hong Kong?
I thought I'd spend a quiet night contemplating colonial misrule myself.
Maybe start reading the works of Mao Zedong, yeah, and the works of Deng Xiaoping.
Each time you say hung me, ding dong ding dong. Each time you say love me, ding dong ding dong. I hope I don't wait too long to hear my bell go ding dong.
And we'll take a break from the handover fever with these commercials.